Mask. Just really enjoys this. I love that.
Jake, do you want to go ahead and get us started?
Yeah, so hi everybody. We're so excited to be here for Take a Break with Jake. Thanks for joining us. Today we're in the restroom over at the bear exhibit, and we're showing you our fantastic exhibit in here, which is cotton-top tamarins. Now, Keeper Lexi was just in there giving the tamarins one of their favorite treats, which is mealworms, and we were watching them kind of grab those from her and tear them apart. And you can see the kids here eating the remnants of the treat that was just put in. So cute. And Lexi's on her way back around this direction to tell us a little bit more about our family group here at the zoo. So currently we have 5 individuals. They range in ages from about 1-year-old all the way to, I think, about 15. Lexi will give us the specifics about those kids when she comes in. But a little bit about cotton-top tamarins. This is the most critically endangered species of primate in the world. Way back in the 1970s or so, a lot of these guys were taken straight from the wild for research, and they were put into different research labs all throughout the United States and a variety of other countries, and used for different kinds of medical research. So that really depleted the population. The pet trade is another thing that harms the wild population of cotton-top tamarins and a lot of the other smaller primate species, and then of course deforestation. So a bunch of different factors that these guys have to face in the wild, and we'll talk a little bit later about what you can do to help them out. But for now, Lexi is here with us in person. Lexi, hi, first and foremost. Thanks for coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about who all we're seeing here, their ages and all of that?
So we have mom and dad. Dad's name is Pancho, and then mom's name is Caqueta. And then we have one younger one who is named Rosamira, and she's 2 years old. And then we have a set of twins who are 1 year old, and they are Pablo and Virginia. So we have 5 tamarins total. We did have 6, so people who may have come here before and are wondering what happened to that 6th one, we actually just sent him to Peoria Zoo in Illinois. That was part of their SSP, or Species Survival Plan. So at our zoo, we are part of that program, and that just means that we are recommended to send that tamarin to another facility so that they can have hopefully offspring with another individual that they were matched up with. So we sent Mateo there yesterday morning, and so far we know that he's doing pretty well. So right now we have 5.
That's
Awesome.
I mentioned right before you came in, we range in ages from 1 to, how old is your oldest?
Pancho is 15.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Pretty old for a tamarin. So he's our old man, and then his mate, Caqueta, is 7 years old. So we have 15, 7, 2, and then 1. They're all their ages.
These guys are testing out my camera work abilities. Let me just tell you, wow, this is going to be hard.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Are the 3 that keep running around here, are these the youngsters?
They are.
Okay, and then I think this one is Pancho here,
That
right?
is Pancho back there.
You identified him earlier for us by that little kink or crick in his tail.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
And then mom is up here eating. She's staying out of the trouble. Now
Okay.
she just went to
She
the
just
back.
hopped to the
Oh
back.
gosh.
It's not super easy to tell them apart. They do look very similar, but when you work with them every day, you pick up little things. So the best way that I describe Caqueta is that she is just a little bit bigger than the younger ones, and then she also typically looks more oily on her fur, and she looks kind of like skinny and sleek.
Interesting.
And then Rosamira looks the most like her mom, but is just a little bit smaller. And then the 2 younger ones, Pablo, the male, his jawline is very pronounced, and it looks a little bit chunky. And then the final one, Virginia, she just looks a lot smaller than the 2 older females.
Gotcha. Thank you. Tell us a little bit about how much do they weigh?
Typically around like 500 grams, which is a little over a pound. The best comparison is they're like the size of like a squirrel or like a loaf of bread. But the babies are still pretty small when they're born, but they are typically about 20% of mom's body weight when they're born. So they're pretty big, and that's why they actually all take turns carrying the young after they're born, so that mom doesn't have to carry all the weight.
So yeah, so that's one of the things I was reading about them is they have these like family structures that are pretty cool because the parents will keep around previous offspring and those offspring will help raise the newest generation, right? And like Lexi's saying, like help carry the babies around because that's heavy and a lot of work. And that gives everybody kind of a break, but it also helps the younger tamarins learn how to parent in the future. And then eventually, you know, in the wild, much like here at the zoo, how you guys just set Mateo out, the younger ones that like kind of grow up would move away from their family, right?
And we think Mateo will be a good dad because he helped take care of the younger ones here, was such a good help. We think that he'll probably do very well as a dad in the future.
That's awesome. So we were mentioning earlier, you were feeding them all these mealworms and they were ripping them apart.
Yep.
What other things did they like to eat? What do we feed them?
We feed them stuff like broccoli, kale, squash. They get like a gel diet and they get little pieces of like cucumber. And then they, like you said, they get mealworms, waxworms, and then little food enrichment every once in a while. So they'll sometimes get like smears of different foods. And then the browse that's in here, they don't usually eat that. I usually just see them chew on it and rip it off and look at it. But that's actually part of their enrichment as well. It's just something for them to interact with and play with that's different every day.
It's really checking it out, that bamboo.
Yeah.
So cute. All right. So we haven't talked yet about where the cotton-tailed tamarins can be found in the wild. Can you talk a little bit about that and their habitat?
They are from Colombia, which is in South America, and they're from the northwest part of Colombia, and that's the only place that you can find them anywhere. So that's part of the reason why there's not that many of them around, is because they're from this one small area.
That's crazy.
And I've heard that it's like a very small region, right? Like it's not like a huge area of the country either.
Yes, it's very small.
Oh, they're so cute.
Lexi, there are lots of different tamarin species, right?
Yes, there's about 30.
And they're all in like that region, that South America region?
Yeah. But yeah, these are the only ones in that one part of Colombia.
All right, so we covered their diet, we covered a little bit about where they live. We talked earlier about how the cotton-tailed tamarin is the most critically endangered primate species in the world, which means there are not a lot of them left in the wild. And actually there are far more in human care than there are left in the wild. And so that's why the National Zoo participates in that SSP, the Species Survival Plan that Lexi mentioned. We work with a variety of other zoos and organizations to help breed this critically endangered species, boost their numbers in human care, ensure the genetic viability of the species with the hopes of reintroduction to the wild someday in the future. But like I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of threats still out in the wild, so poaching is a big one. Now we're kind of talking before, primates do not make good pets, right? I'm sure you have a lot of pee on you from the primates. They kind of go to the bathroom everywhere. They smell really bad. But beyond them just kind of being gross, why else would a primate not make a good pet?
They don't make a good pet because you would have to have the appropriate diet for them ready. So you would have to make sure that they have all the specific things that they need. And naturally they eat stuff, you know, like bugs and eggs and a lot of fruit. So you'd have to have that on hand. Also, they live in these family groups and they're very dependent on each other. So to have just one tamarin by itself would be very bad for that individual, and it probably wouldn't go over well for the overall health. In addition, we're lucky here that we have a whole vet staff, so if one happened to be sick, you wouldn't have anywhere to take that tamarin if it got sick. And then, just in general, there's a lot of better options for pets than these tamarins. Like you said, I do get peed and pooped on a lot. And you would have to know a lot about tamarins and their overall behavior to know whether or not they're healthy.
That's plenty of reasons, I think.
So.
I ran out of fingers to count them,
Yes,
so.
that's more than enough reasons to not get a primate as a pet. They're just like
Oh,
fighting with each other.
I knew
over
I'd
here.
miss something
I
good.
know. So cute. So definitely once the zoo is back open, I really highly encourage everyone to come out and visit our amazing primates here at the National Zoo. We don't just have tamarins, we have spider monkeys, we have lemurs, we have gibbons, so we really have a really wide variety of primates for everyone to come out and see, from these tiny little kids all the way up to the Siamese. Look up there, Kelsey.
Oh gosh.
I know, look at the tongue.
I love when they tongue flick.
Oh my gosh. And they're just play fighting with each other. You see them like growling at each other and just like gnawing on each other's arms, but obviously not too bothered by it. Lexi, can you tell us a little bit about the training that y'all do with the tamarins?
Yeah, so we do training right here on exhibit typically. The only time we don't do training out here is when we do it inside their holding area because they have a chute, and that chute is just like a little tunnel that leads into their exhibit. So we can actually close the door on there if we need them to be in the chute for us. And that's mostly for like transport, or if we are trying to train a new behavior in a small area. But the training we do out here, we've done some injection training, station training, which is just asking them to go to a specific spot for us, training them to go on a scale, which has been kind of a struggle. They all are either afraid of the scale or want to jump on each other. We train them to touch a target, and that really helps us to assess their body. We can move the target around and get a good look at their body because they'll follow the target. And then, let's see what else. We train them to be able to touch their back, to get them a little bit more comfortable with us. And then we trained Mom the behavior called belly. So when she was pregnant, we trained her to let us be able to touch her stomach so that we could feel the kids and see how her body was growing.
That's awesome. All the training that we do here at the zoo, especially the stuff for animals that are on exhibit, is to help the animals out with their veterinary care or with working with the staff here at the zoo, because participating in veterinary care is a much simpler and much happier way to get things done than if we had to like just grab the animals up just to do something simple like check a pregnant mom, or if they have a toenail that needs clipped or checked out. It's much easier if Lexi and the other primate keepers are able to have the tamarin station. They can show them their feet, they can check that out really easily without having to restrain or grab up the animal. So we're reducing stress for all the animals and people involved. And then choice and control are really optimum motivators for a lot of wild animals. And by offering the opportunity to come over, we're giving the animals as much choice as we possibly can, which is really great for their well-being. Do we have any other questions so far, Kelsey?
I don't see any questions. Lexi, I think your sister or some family members on here because I see the last name.
Sounds right.
Kathy is wondering, are these guys territorial?
They can be a little bit aggressive towards other groups, but normally they just kind of stay in their own units. I haven't really read much up on if they have specific areas that only a group lives in, so I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah. Let's see. Raymond, I see your question about men being able to see them. Jake, I know you have a pro tip on how to do this.
Okay, my pro tip is when the zoo is open, the zoo's busy, I just walk right up to the door with confidence and I knock on it and wait for someone to open the door. And then I just ask, can I come in? And then usually that person will like check with everyone else in here and make sure everyone's decent and okay with it. And then they let me in and I can come see them. This is like out of zoo uniform. Nobody knows who I am. I'm just trying to see the tamarins when I'm visiting with friends. So I definitely recommend that. I also want to take this opportunity to show off this really cute shirt that I got on the National Zoo gift shop website. That's shop.naturalzoo.org.
The link is in the description.
Perfect. Thanks. I got it right the second time around. And you can get cool shirts just like this one right on that website.
Also, if you get here really early, when nobody's in here, you probably have a better shot. If you just get here right when we open and make a beeline, I don't think anyone's going to go straight for the bathroom normally.
That's another pro
That's
tip.
another good pro tip, Lexi. Thank you for that. And let's see. Question from Haley Lexi. How long do they typically live?
In the wilds, they live to be around like 13 years old. And then in captivity, the oldest one on record has lived to be 24. So you can see that's a pretty big age gap. It really shows how much longer their lives can be in a zoo setting where they have all this extra care.
We just heard a strange noise from outside, so now we're all looking at each other like, what is that?
Aren't too concerned. I guess one of the things that I always hear from people is like, oh my gosh, you have tamarins, monkeys in the bathroom, like that must be so stressful for them. The reality is you can't really hear too much in there.
It's pretty muffled. Really the only thing you can hear is when someone uses the hand dryer, and that's even muffled, but I'm pretty sure that they've gotten used to it at this point.
Yeah, they've been here longer than most of us in this space, right? So they're pretty comfortable in here, and it's much like any other exhibit here at the zoo. They do have places that they can go to hide or get out of sight so they don't feel exposed the whole time. So never fear. Look at that stretch. Oh my god.
Are you looking at your foot, bud? Oh, and you put it down right when I zoom in.
A question that we usually get is, do they sleep in those baskets?
Good question.
And the answer is typically no. Overnight, they're going to be sleeping in their holding area, and they have a really nice nest box in there. They keep blankets, and they have like a nice little bed in there, and they all cuddle together and sleep together in there at night.
So
and
cute.
They also have a heat lamp that faces towards the nest box too, so they're pretty nice and warm and cozy. But most of the time when I'm in here, people do ask me, do they sleep in those baskets?
And their like nighttime quarters is like through this area over there.
Yeah, it's in a tunnel behind this back rock. You can't see it unless you're in the exhibit.
Because they couldn't tell if you were asking the question or if you were telling us or telling the guests.
You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure either.
One kind of interesting thing, Lexi mentioned that they go to sleep at night. People are always asking, like, is the animal nocturnal or diurnal? Oh my god, that was amazing. That was incredible. So the contact tamarins are diurnal, and some of the research that I was reading says that they will wake up like after sunrise, like by an hour or so, and then go out and start foraging, and then they increase in activity before dusk, and then get inside and go to bed or get in their den space before dusk settles. And that's because a lot of predators out in the wild will hunt at dawn and at dusk or nocturnally. So to help them kind of stay away from as many predators as possible, the tamarins have evolved to like come up and get out late and then get in early and stay safe.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And we actually see that behavior from them even though they don't have to worry about predators here. We had to install a light timer in their holding because we used to not have a timer in there and we would just shut the light off after we gave them their dinner. But when we did that, they would just go straight to bed. And we would have to give them enough time to eat dinner before we left, or else they would just leave their food and go right into bed because they don't want to be in the dark at all. So now we have light timers for them since we learned that they still do that. And we usually give them their whole exhibit overnight too and their nest box inside, so they have both spaces overnight.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
The sky. I mean, I feel like we're one, you know?
They really are very cute.
I can see like what the appeal would be to like have them as a pet because they are so cute, but it's just not worth it.
Yeah. It's not going to be good for you, and it's not going to be good for them as a species. That tongue flicking is actually one of the ways that they communicate.
Really?
What are some of the other ways that they communicate? How do they talk to one another?
They have they actually have 38 vocalizations that they can
Wow.
do, and it's totally different depending on the situation. They even have a specific one for, oh my gosh, there's a human. So they have a specific one for when they see one of us. They'll warn each other, they'll just talk to one another. And then usually their noises are like chirps, high-pitched calls. And then that tongue flicking, like you said, it can either be just playful, sometimes it's for aggression, sometimes it's for reproduction. We usually just see that from them when they want attention or if they're saying hi to you.
I know, I was like, so what is he trying to tell me then?
Nothing bad. Yeah, they usually do that a lot when they see their reflection as well, too. Whenever they're stimulated or excited, they do that too.
A couple questions, Lexi from Kaylee and Chris. Both are wondering what is the gestation period, and you mentioned earlier about how much do the babies weigh when they're born?
So the gestation is about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty quick, and then mom can get pregnant within 5 months after having the baby, so it's pretty quick.
Now, is there like a specific breeding season for these guys, like there is
No, it
from
could
some
be
other
at
animals?
any time.
Okay, I did not know that, so thank you for my fun fact for the day. And what's that weight for a newborn tamarin?
Well, we actually don't have a specific weight on our babies because we let mom raise them, so we aren't able to get a weight on them. She carries them, but like I said, it is typically about 20% of mom's body weight, and they usually weigh around 500 grams, so 20% of that.
Yeah, that's math, all right.
Yep.
Jake's breaking out the calculator.
Oh my gosh. 100 grams.
There we go.
Why could we not figure that out?
I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, 1/5 of 500.
Yep, that's how we should have done that.
Well, there's your math lesson for the day, folks.
We're a little rusty. Let's see. Carolyn wants to know, how do you decide what to name them?
I'm pretty sure that Pancho and Caqueta already had their names, but the younger ones, that was keeper's choice. So sometimes, depending on the animal, we'll have like a naming contest where someone can donate and then name an animal. For these guys, the keepers ended up deciding their names. Sometimes they're named after people, or sometimes in zoos we'll do like a specific theme for like a group of animals. But for them, our keepers decided on their names. I wasn't one of the ones that named them, but I voted.
Good job. Way to participate. And you said earlier that Rosamira is named after a person, right?
Yes.
She's named after someone at Proyecto TT?
Yes, I believe the executive director at Proyecto TT, and that's actually one of the places that the zoo donates to. And they work a lot with the local communities in Colombia to encourage people and to like give them jobs to help them want to help protect the tamarins there. So one of the things that they do is like they'll put up fences using recycled materials, or they'll create tamarin stuffed animals to sell so that they have a business, and it's so that those people don't have to do things that could potentially harm the tamarins to make money another way. So instead of them having to clear out an area for agriculture to make that as a business, they can do one of the things that Proyecto TT is helping them with that will help the tamarins in the long run. So we decided to name one of our tamarins after one of the people that works with them as kind of an honor to that person.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Let's see. Christy's wondering, she's saying, I really wish she could expand the zoo some more and bring back elephants. Christy, that would be so great. But I don't think that's in the cards right now. We are looking to do an Africa expansion in the years to come, but those plans aren't solid yet. What are some natural predators that tamarins have in the wild?
Some of the predators in Colombia are going to be birds of prey, wildcats, dogs that live in Colombia, and then sometimes snakes as well.
Interesting. I know that I feel like this is something I know. I'm probably about to make a fool out of myself, but these guys spend most of their time in trees, right?
They are arboreal, is the term.
Thank you. What would be a reason that these guys would come down?
Maybe for food on the ground. But yeah, typically they are high up in the trees, and they are not very likely to fall. So if they just weren't quick enough and something climbed up towards them, that could be the way. Or like I said, snakes, because snakes can climb trees, so that could be one way. They typically typically live in the middle canopy.
Okay.
It's a nice fun fact. Because they live in trees, obviously those are important to their survival out in the wild. So another thing that people can do is look for the Forestry Stewardship Council, which is FSC logo, when you're purchasing like paper products or your lumber for whatever projects you're working on. And that means that all of the wood that is used is sustainable, which means that they're not taking away the habitat of the beautiful cotton-top tamarins or other species that we call the rainforest home. That's another kind of take-home thing that you can do to help out wildlife. It is Endangered Species Day.
It is.
I don't know if we mentioned that earlier.
We probably didn't, but it's in the description.
It's Endangered Species Day today, everyone, which is a really great reminder to all of us to make sure that you're doing what you can to help species out in the wild. Animals like the cotton-top tamarin, who are critically endangered, really need our help. A lot of the reasons why animals are endangered are human-caused, but the good news is that we can be a big part of the solution as well. So Lexi and I both mentioned a handful of different ways that the National Zoo helps out, a couple different ways that you can help out as well. So if you missed that earlier in our broadcast, make sure you go back, write down some of those ideas and those tips and tricks. You can also find out different ways that you can help wildlife in need all around the world by going to nationalzoo.org and visiting our conservation pages there to find out everything that you can do to help wildlife all around the world. Hi. Just like twitched his head there.
Maybe it was a twitch of agreement, maybe?
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
We're best friends.
What is
now.
happening
There's another
there?
way they communicate is grooming each other, so they do a lot of social grooming.
So sweet.
Let's see. Another question, how do they stay hydrated up in the trees?
That's a good question. I would assume mostly through the fruit that they eat, and any rain that might fall in areas in the tree where they're able to drink it. Here they have bowls of water and water bottles. So they have their own special clean water all the time.
They're a little spoiled, it's fine.
Most of the time, with primates, if they don't have direct access to a water source, most of the time they'll get enough through the fruit that they eat.
Is this Pancho, who's kind of like...
Pancho's off by himself.
Is that typical? Like he's kind of like, I'm the oldest, I'm the dad, like
Yeah,
I'm good.
he was very, very involved when the kids were first born. He loved carrying them. He would actually steal them from other individuals in the group. But since the kids have gotten a little bit older, he likes to have his alone time because the kids are a little wild. So he likes to relax by himself. So that's normal for him. But sometimes I do see him playing with them, interacting with them. So it's not all the time. Sometimes
It's all about balance.
Right.
Very sweet. All right, well, I think we're going to wrap up our Cotton-top Tamarin broadcast today. Thanks everybody so much for joining us. Remember to check out the links in the description of the video today, and then also go to the National Zoo website to check out all the different ways that you can help out Cotton-top Tamarins and other endangered species. Lexi, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your knowledge. We hope to see everybody again soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.